Hey, friends, it's Mrs. Golding. We are today on your math packet, and we are on page 12, and we're doing problem number 1. And this is a pretty big problem. So, I wanted to share with you a resource, and I'm going to put a link to this resource website in the description in this video. It's just called Social Science Statistics. And what we're going to make today with this data is a histogram. Um, there are many types of graphs that we could choose from for this problem. But as I read the problem, it helped me to decide, and here's why. So it gives us 25 birth weights in ounces of all the Labrador Retriever puppies. Aren't they cute? Born at a certain kennel in the last 6 months. And this data is in order from least to greatest, which is nice. It's not all mixed up. And so I noticed that there was a lot of this data that was the same. So there were high frequency. In other words, there were data that repeated itself more than once. In other words, there were more than one puppy born of a certain weight. And so when I want to graph frequency, a histogram is a great way to do that. If I have data that's numerical, in other words, it's in numbers, a histogram is a great way to do it. If I have categorical data like ice cream flavors or let's see, what would it be? Shoe brands or something like that. That's where a bar graph is nice. So numerical data is what we have, and we're going to look at the frequency of that data. So we're going to use a histogram, which is something you've been using in class. So this is a histogram maker. So in class, you probably did it on paper. I want to show you some resources to make it easier for you. So I simply input the data that we were given. These are the birth weights. There's 25 of them with a comma separating them. If you put a space in there, it'll count it as a 0 or something, so don't do that. I'm going to go down here to generate. Okay, so hopefully this will work. If it'll let me generate. Okay, I'm hoping you can still see this. So it generated for me. Miss Golding's face is gone now. Okay, here's our result. So we have a frequency table, which in your class was probably the hardest thing to build. It took the longest. But doing it on this with this resource, it makes things go faster because we really just want to analyze it. We're not practicing making it. And then it gives me all kinds of information about my histogram. So if you remember in our histogram, we talk about the shape, right? And what I just drew is called a normal distribution. And it's often referred to as a bell curve. Our distribution is similar to that, right? And if you look at some of these values over here that are listed, you might recognize some of them. So it says, describe the distribution of your birth weights. I would say this is a normal distribution. That's a description of the shape. It's somewhat symmetrical. It's somewhat symmetrical. It says describe the center of your data. And center can be described by 3 things: the mean, mode, and the median. And the data that you're going to see right here is the piece of data is the mean. So we know that the mean is a little less than 17. So right around in here, right? Right around in here. And the mode, if we look at our data, the one piece that occurs most often is 18. And our median, or the middle piece of data, is 17. Okay, check back with me for part 2, and we'll keep on keeping on.